All right, we are now joined by Collin Morikawa here at the Sony Open in Hawaii, making your third appearance at this event, first since 2021. Just to start, how great is it to be back here? Can you speak a little bit deeper to those family ties that you have here to Hawaii?
Yeah, it all started in Lahaina on Maui. That's where my grandparents were born. That's where my great-grandparents lived, and pretty much grew up our entire lives. And it's awful to see kind of what has happened over the last, let's call it 3 years, with the fires, seeing the loss of Front Street. Obviously, us not being there, I know we provide probably a good amount of just attention to the island and that side of the island for Kapalua. But hopefully we'll be back. It's the crowd out here, the fan, the culture. I love coming out here, and it's like I said, it's nice to be back at the Sony Open.
Yeah, and on the competition side, obviously this is the first event of the 2026 season. Do you set goals for the year, or what are you looking to accomplish in 2026?
Yeah, from a basic standpoint, it would be to win again. It's been quite some time, and to kind of pull that back out and not just win, once, but hopefully win multiple times. But with that, there's a lot of things that go underneath that, a lot of processes, a lot of work that's been put in the off season to hopefully just kind of free up and go out and play some golf for 2026.
Wonderful. Go ahead with questions from the group. We can get a microphone to people. Dave in the front here.
So with all the talk and speculation about what might happen in the future with Kapalua and here also, there was some people were saying that it would weaken the field here, but I look at it looks like a stronger field. And had you already decided you were going to play here, or did that weigh into your decision at all as far as to play in this event this year?
Yeah, it was actually, I told my agent, last year when I had come over right after Maui that I think I wanted to play. So, the plan from essentially a year ago, even though that was really, really far ahead, was to probably play the first two, play at Maui, play here. Obviously, Maui went away. This was still in the schedule. Why not? I love starting my season out in Hawaii, get out of the cold. So it's nice to be out here. It's a different vibe than I think most weeks. When you show up at Kapalua, it's very different because we get carts for the practice round. I think everyone's a little bit slower. This week you could tell all the rookies they're ready to go. All the guys ready to play. And you just on this golf course, depending on where the wind is, you got to be making some birdies out there.
Hey, Collin. Just with all the uncertainty of the future of the PGA being in Hawaii, how much more does that make you, want to cherish these next few days here?
Yeah, you just get to appreciate, where you are. It's hard to do that because our season, even though it's the beginning of the season, will go by very quickly. You play a lot of the same places that you've been before. But you just share a little bit of gratitude and appreciation for the people that come out, the volunteers that are out here. The amount of people, even through 3 days that have said, thanks for coming back. It means more than. And for me, for someone that has ties to Hawaii, you never want to see something go away for good. But it just makes you realize, stay present this week, enjoy it as much as you can, and see what kind of memories we can make, and hopefully, finally find a way to win on the islands out here.
Yeah, to kind of that point, and you mentioned just kind of the different vibe for a tournament here in Hawaii. What are the differences or maybe similarities or just interactions with people here throughout the week compared to other tournaments throughout the season?
Yeah, they're just super friendly. I mean, I think a lot of people have asked me where I've eaten. You don't really get that too often. But that's just the culture out here, right? And that's kind of how people live, very relaxed, all hanging out, all family, and that's what's nice. Everyone feels comfortable to be back at a place that I haven't been, kind of forgot my bearings a little bit, but everyone has been so welcoming. It's made things a lot easier to settle in, especially being the first event of our year.
Other questions for Collin? Yep. Dave?
On the other side of the coin about the proposed major changes to schedule from blueprints and the things that have been thrown around, what are some of the things that you like about it?
I'll be honest, I haven't dug into it too much. I don't sit on, any of the player boards and that type of stuff to really know. All I hear is kind of what you guys hear. So I haven't really given it much thought. I think my biggest thing is how do I play well this year? How do I go out and accomplish my goals? And hopefully that puts me in a good situation for 27 or 28. But we'll have to wait and see for that.
Very glad that you didn't have a TGL match this week because it might have been difficult for you to be here, right? Can you talk a little bit about that? It looks like a lot of fun.
It's been amazing. The travel is a little far for someone who lives on the West Coast, but when you're there, it's a setting that you can't really describe as a golfer because we're so used to being outdoors. We're so used to having the pressure essentially in our own head, right? But when you have the crowd around you, you can hear everyone right beside you because it's essentially a stadium. There's a different style of pressure. You got two other guys, owners sitting in the owner's box. Like, you want to perform well. So it's a very different style of golf. You have to learn how to play into the screen, how to essentially chip and putt on the different surfaces, but it's so much fun. There's a lot of rhythm and momentum into that format that I think hopefully our team can kind of get back on, especially after losing our first match.
Okay,
I'm
sorry. I don't mean to monopolize anybody. I just wanted to follow up on that because it ties in kind of what we're talking about with Nick. You play a lot of different sports as a kid growing up, and with the TGL, it seems to have some elements that are different than golf because your trash talk game probably has to elevate a little bit because it seems like that's part of it. And what were some of the sports you played as a kid growing up other than golf?
Yeah, I played baseball, played basketball, skied. I think golf is able to teach a lot of kids a lot of great, valuable lessons for later on in life. But the team sports really allow them to grow, I think, when they're very young. So having your kid, even if they like golf, having them play other sports and team sports, being around others, socializing, it's a huge aspect in life and a very valuable lesson as well that sometimes you don't get in golf. I know we're having a lot more team junior golf leagues and stuff like that. But other sports, like, you're kind of put into it. And that's the situation we're put in TGL is, like, you have to be able to interact with your teammates, kind of harp and like you said, trash talk a little bit of the other team to see, what fence can you push to where it maybe is a little too much or not enough to make a difference. I think we're starting to hear that, in football. You get to hear other athletes under the mic. That's what probably people want to hear. You just don't get that in golf because for us, it's really just between us and our caddy.
Anything else for Collin? All right. Thank you for the time. Play well this week.
Thank you, guys.